Chapter 13. The Vanishing Spook. Everybody rushed from the porch of the cottage and hurried up the hill. On a level area, about halfway to the road, lay a young woman. "You're hurt!" Aunt Eloise exclaimed. "We'll carry you to our cabin." No, the girl objected. "I got very scared and ran and lost my balance." She sat up. "I'm all right, really I am." Despite what she said, the stranger was pale and trembling. She was covered with dust, and her shoulder-length hair was tousled. "Can we take you someplace?" Ned spoke up. The girl shook her head. "Just help me to the road, and please stay until my boyfriend comes. He's going to pick me up. I was early getting off my job at the motel, so I started walking toward Cooperstown. I'm Mary's store." The boys assisted the young woman to her feet, while the girls brushed off her clothes. Bess pulled a small comb from her pocket and smoothed the girl's lovely curly brown hair. Nancy had taken some tissues from a pocket and helped Mary wipe the dirt from her face. "My boyfriend won't know me," Mary said ruefully. "What frightened you?" George asked. A shiver ran through Mary's body. "A ghost that came out of the woods. You know, there are spooks around this area. I never heard of a green one, though." "The Green Man!" Bess exclaimed. "We've seen him, too." Mary's store looked startled. "Then I wasn't dreaming? People tell me that there are no such things as ghosts. I didn't want to say anything for fear you'd laugh at me." "That Green Man is no laughing matter," Bess declared. "The figure wasn't really green," Mary told them. "It was all in white with a hood, but a funny green light would glow around it for a few seconds, then go off." "Wow, I don't blame you for being frightened," Dave spoke up. "Where'd the guy go?" Mary's store said she did not know. "When this white thing started waving its arms toward me, like somebody casting a spell, I started to run. I was getting ahead of him, but turned to look back. That's when I stumbled on something near your path and lost my balance. I started rolling down the hill." By this time, the group had reached the road, which was dark. There was no sign of the strange figure. "Thank goodness he's gone," she said. "And thank you all very much for bringing me up here. You can bet I'll never walk in this area alone again." As she spoke, headlights appeared in the distance, and in a couple of minutes a young man drew up alongside the group. Mary excitedly explained to him why she and the others were there. Her boyfriend looked worried. "Thanks, folks," he said. "Mary, hop in here and let's get away from this place. I don't like spooks." After they had gone, Ned said, "How about hiking up the mountain to find this weird creature?" Aunt Eloise decided to go back to the cabin and clear away the dinner dishes. Matt said he would help her. The 6 young people were trudging up the hill on the opposite side of the road when Nancy remarked that they should have brought flashlights. "I'll go back and get a few," Bert offered. The others waited for him. When he returned, he had lights for each couple. As they neared the place where the girls had seen the Green Man previously, George said she wondered if he were the same person who had frightened Mary's store. "If so, he has a variety of costumes," Dave commented. "I believe," said Nancy, "that he's the same person using various disguises." She added that her conclusion was based on the conversation she overheard between Sam and Mike. "So the ghost is a sorcerer, too," Ned said. "We'd better watch our step. By the way, I've heard that when a sorcerer bewitches a person, he in turn can pass the witchery on to someone else without the other one knowing it." George laughed. "You mean that Mary's store might have passed the sorcery along to one of us here?" "Could be," Ned teased. "When we get back, we might even find Aunt Eloise and Matt turned into stone statues." Nancy was grinning broadly. "Ned," she said, "is this part of what you learned in your folklore lessons?" "You guessed it," he said, chuckling. As they trekked up the mountain, it was not necessary for the young people to turn on the flashlights. With their vision accustomed to the darkness and the twinkling of the fireflies, they were able to see ahead. The three couples had been trudging in silence for some time, keeping a sharp lookout for any kind of strange figure. "Guess the ghost is gone," Nancy thought. Suddenly, Bess grabbed Dave's arm. With her other hand, she pointed to a strange glob of greenish light, which grew brighter and brighter. The 6 young people were astounded. A short distance ahead of them was one of the queerest-looking figures they had ever seen. Was he a man or a beast? He had a man-like body, but a shaggy coat of fur completely covered the creature. The head and body were iridescent. "Shall we attack it?" Ned whispered to Nancy. Her answer was, "Let's separate and surround the spook." Before they could move, the strange creature intoned in a deep voice, "Leave these woods at once." "Why should we?" George called out defiantly. The reply made Bess quiver. "If you do not go, trouble awaits you." "What do you say, Nancy?" Ned asked in a low voice. The young sleuth still felt they should try to capture the ghost. Word was sent from one to another. They spread out in a circle, then began to close in. Suddenly, the green light went out, and the iridescent figure disappeared. The searchers moved forward to the spot where he had stood. He was not there. "He must be supernatural," Bess said shakily. Bert declared the earth must have swallowed him. "I think," Dave declared, "that the guy was wearing a special suit. He quickly took it off, turned it inside out, and ran off before we completed our circle." Nancy agreed this was the most reasonable explanation. She turned on her flashlight and began hunting for footprints. Large, animal-like prints were visible. "Let's follow them," she suggested. They led through tangled undergrowth and became undetectable. Nancy followed the direction in which they had pointed. Her friends were close behind. In a few minutes, she saw a log lying across a little stream. She went over this natural bridge and found footprints on the other side. Ned was directly back of her, but the others had not followed. "Come on," she called. "Here are more footprints, or should I say a man's shoe prints." George came over the log next, then Bert, then Bess. Just as she reached the group, they heard a loud grunt at their rear. They turned quickly. Dave Evans was not with them. Bess called out in alarm, "Dave, where are you?" There was no reply. At once, the others rushed back across the log. When they reached the other side, Bess beamed her flashlight around. "Dave!" she screamed. Her date lay sprawled on the ground, face down. He did not move. Quickly, Bert and Ned knelt beside him. Then Ned announced, "He's breathing, but he was knocked out pretty hard." "How frightful," Bess murmured. Nancy asked herself, was the blow from the fall? Or was it a hand-delivered knockout, perhaps by the ghostly figure? End of chapter 13.